Welcome to Grand Prix, your go-to channel for the fastest updates in Formula One. We've got 3 hot stories for you, so make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay ahead of the pack. Let's get started. Red Bull is facing an important transition period in Formula One after suffering a series of high-profile staff departures in recent months. The team, which has been one of the most dominant forces on the grid in recent years, now finds itself in the position of having to rebuild key areas of its structure while maintaining competitiveness at the very top of the sport. Some of the most significant exits have been Adrian Newey, long regarded as one of the greatest technical minds in Formula One history, who moved to Aston Martin, and Jonathan Whitley, who left to join Sauber. These names were more than just senior figures. They were integral to the design, development, and performance of Red Bull's cars during its most successful years. Their departure has created both a vacuum of experience and a need for immediate restructuring inside the organization. Adding to these losses, Red Bull also confirmed that its chief strategist, Will Courtney, will leave for McLaren. This role is particularly crucial, as strategy decisions often determine race outcomes in modern Formula One, where margins are razor-thin and pit stop calls, tire choices, and timing of safety car responses can change the course of an entire championship. The vacancy in such a key position has therefore heightened concerns about the team's stability heading into the next phase of competition. In response, Red Bull has begun a wide recruitment drive. According to the team's official page and listings on professional hiring platforms, multiple vacancies are currently open, particularly within the technical department. The search is not limited to filling existing roles, but also extends to redistributing responsibilities, ensuring that the workload previously handled by these high-profile individuals can be managed more effectively across a larger group of engineers and strategists. While it is common for Formula One teams to have staff changes, the current volume of openings at Red Bull suggests something deeper, a genuine restructuring process. The organization is not only replacing key figures, but also seeking to rethink how its technical and strategic departments function. This period of internal rebuilding is aimed at protecting the team's performance levels in both the short and long term. One of the central challenges is balancing continuity with innovation. Red Bull cannot afford to lose its identity and winning culture, but at the same time, it must adapt to new realities. With the 2026 regulation changes approaching, bringing an entirely new engine formula and further shifts in car design, the ability to adapt quickly will define whether Red Bull can remain a championship contender or fall behind in a highly competitive field. Another factor is the impact on morale within the team. High-profile departures can create uncertainty among staff members and even raise questions about leadership direction. Maintaining unity and confidence will be as critical as securing replacements. If the internal environment weakens, the risk is that further employees could be lured away by rivals promising greater stability or new opportunities. From a sporting perspective, the timing could hardly be more sensitive. Max Verstappen remains one of the grid's most dominant drivers, but even the best talent behind the wheel needs a strong team infrastructure. Losing top engineers, strategists, and technical directors at once could compromise Red Bull's ability to provide Verstappen with the tools necessary to continue his dominance. That, in turn, opens the door for rivals like McLaren, Ferrari, or Mercedes to capitalize on any missteps. It is also worth noting that Red Bull's rivals have been strategically strengthening themselves by hiring directly from the Austrian team. Aston Martin's acquisition of Adrian Newey, for instance, not only strengthens its own technical department, but also weakens Red Bull's edge. Similarly, McLaren's addition of Will Courtney bolsters its race strategy at a time when the team is already surging forward with competitive results. McLaren heads into Formula One's summer break with a commanding lead in the Constructors' Championship, an impressive 299 points clear of Ferrari. In the drivers' standings, however, the fight is far tighter, and it's an intra-team battle. Oscar Piastri currently leads by just 9 points over teammate Lando Norris. Max Verstappen sits in third place, 88 points adrift, but the reigning champion is still viewed as a threat. No one can afford to underestimate Verstappen's ability to turn a season around. In a recent interview, McLaren CEO Zak Brown acknowledged that the title fight will likely come down to his 2 drivers. He revealed that discussions have already taken place within the team on how to manage the situation should both drivers remain in contention until the very end. Brown pointed to the British Grand Prix earlier this year as an example of the kind of tension they want to avoid. At Silverstone, Piastri finished second behind Norris but was visibly frustrated after missing out on victory due to a controversial in-race penalty. The Australian had hoped McLaren might return the position to him to restore his lead, but the team did not intervene. That moment underscored the fine line between letting drivers race freely and managing internal rivalries. According to Brown, McLaren will stick to its policy of not favoring either driver, even with the championship margin so close. He made it clear there will be no shift towards supporting just one driver for the sake of securing the title. Instead, the outcome will depend on each driver's consistency, execution, and perhaps even unpredictable factors such as weather conditions, safety car interventions, or on-track incidents. This approach is a bold statement in modern Formula One, where teams often lean toward backing a single driver when championships are on the line. Brown's stance suggests that McLaren values fair competition between its drivers and believes both are capable of delivering under pressure. However, it also opens the door to potential flashpoints if a critical race sees the two going wheel-to-wheel for victory. Maintaining harmony within the team will be crucial. The constructors' title may already be within reach, but a collision or costly mistake between Piastri and Norris could shift momentum in the Drivers' Championship and invite rivals like Verstappen back into play. As Brown noted, the challenge is to allow competition without letting it become destructive. For now, McLaren's plan is to let the fight unfold naturally, trusting that both drivers can manage the pressure and race respectfully. The second half of the season will test not only their pace, but also their ability to handle the psychological strain of a direct title fight against a teammate. So what's your take? Should McLaren continue letting Piastri and Norris battle it out on equal terms? Or should they prioritize one driver to maximize their chances of securing the Drivers' Championship? Sometimes, a strategy built on freedom can pay off, but in the high-stakes world of Formula One, it can just as easily backfire. Mercedes believes it is on the right path to fight for second place in the Constructors' Championship this season, with Ferrari and Red Bull as its main rivals. According to Bradley Lord, the team's communications director, the situation in the standings suggests that the battle for the runner-up spot will remain tight for the remainder of the year, particularly as most leading teams have already shifted their development focus toward the major regulation changes coming in 2026. Lord explained that the likelihood of significant updates being introduced in the current season is low, with resources and attention now redirected toward preparing for the future era of Formula One. Teams like Mercedes, Ferrari, and Red Bull are expected to rely mostly on optimizing their existing packages rather than introducing large-scale upgrades. This scenario, in his view, sets the stage for a fairly balanced contest between the three teams, while McLaren continues to stand slightly ahead of them in performance. At the moment, Mercedes occupies third place in the constructors' standings, just 24 points behind Ferrari. Meanwhile, the Silver Arrows enjoy a cushion of more than 40 points over Red Bull, who sit fourth. These margins show how close the fight has become behind McLaren, with every podium, retirement, or small mistake potentially swinging the momentum one way or another. The team's results have been somewhat inconsistent across the season. Mercedes has celebrated podium finishes in certain rounds, proving the potential of the car in specific conditions, but it has also struggled in other races where balance and pace have been more difficult to find. According to Lord, the next step for the team is not only to maximize points in every opportunity, but also to deepen its understanding of the current car's limitations. One of the main issues the team is addressing involves performance in hotter races. Both George Russell and young driver Andrea Kimi Antonelli have faced difficulties extracting the maximum from the car when track temperatures rise. Mercedes has acknowledged that this is a key area of concern, as tire management and cooling efficiency are often decisive factors on demanding circuits. When asked whether more major updates would be introduced this year, Mercedes representatives avoided giving a definitive answer. The team has not ruled out the possibility of minor refinements, but they emphasize that any development now will likely be aimed more at learning for 2026 than at radically changing the current competitive order. The main focus, therefore, is consistency and execution with the tools already available. For Mercedes, the immediate challenge is not only catching Ferrari, but also maintaining a clear gap over Red Bull. Ferrari's strength in qualifying and Red Bull's ability to capitalize on strategy mean that Mercedes must remain sharp in every aspect, from pit stop execution to maximizing reliability. Any slip could jeopardize their hold on third place and compromise their hopes of finishing as runner-up in the standings. Beyond the standings themselves, there is also a broader significance to Mercedes' fight for second place. After years of dominance followed by a relative decline, showing competitiveness against Ferrari and Red Bull would be a strong message that the team is back on track. It would also give Russell and Antonelli valuable momentum heading into the future, building confidence for when the new regulations reset the field.